Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pressing Matters. I'm Scott. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your support. Today, I'm going to be talking about a wonderful living stereo title that I believe everyone should have in their collection. And it's Saint-Saëns Organ Symphony No. 3 by Charles Munch and the Boston Symphony Orchestra. I have many copies of it. I went through them all. I'll tell you all about that in a second. Before I get started, if you like this kind of video, give me a thumbs up. Hit like, subscribe, and notification. If you're subscribed, you'll be sure to get notified of any new content that's uploaded, and it's usually about twice a week. So I love this piece of music. It was one of my earlier classical acquisitions. I have 3 or 4 copies on RCA. This one here is a 1S pressing. I have some later ones as well when they changed the cover. I don't know why, but almost immediately after the first release, they changed the cover. It's interesting because usually the living stereo banner is at the top and it's down here. Subsequent reissues just had a small band of black and a tiny living stereo logo at the top. Not even a logo, just print. And it was very odd looking. I prefer this by far. And all subsequent audiophile reissues have used this cover. So this was released in 1958 and it caused a sensation because never before had this piece been recorded with such fidelity and such lengths taken to create the record. This was recorded in Boston Symphony Hall and the recording engineers, the more latent team, decided that they needed to alter the hall to record this record. Boston Symphony Hall has a wonderful organ, but it's positioned right in back of where the performers are on the stage. And it just doesn't work for recording it, apparently, because they decided to have all the seats removed in the first section of the floor so that the orchestra could be out further from the organ to create a better balance. And that must have been a very expensive undertaking. I can't imagine. I can't imagine it, but they did it and the result is quite spectacular. As a matter of fact, it's billed as a stereo spectacular. And for 1958, it certainly was. I wonder how equipment at the time was able to reproduce this well. Even today, it's somewhat difficult if you don't have a full range system to get the full impact of the organ. The pressings I have here are a 1S pressing. I have a Classic Records, a 33 reissue, and the newer Analog Productions 33. I have so many of the classic 45s, and for some reason, I didn't get that one, and I wish I had. But hearing this on record, excuse me, hearing this on record, to me, is a bit of a compromise. It demands silence, not even quiet surfaces. It demands silence. There is very quiet passages in it. And if there's ticks and pops or little, groove noise, it kind of ruins the experience. And finding a clean first pressing is extremely difficult, if not impossible. Those records were pressed very well, especially if they were from Indianapolis pressing plant. But still, and the 1S pressings are, but still, I've never found one that was completely quiet. And to boot, the systems of the day and the tone arms and the styluses of the day, may have not been set up well, and there's sometimes groove damage in the louder parts. So it's a crapshoot to try to find a 1S pressing that's clean. You may find a later pressing on the Brick Red label or the subsequent modern RCA label. that will play cleanly. Actually, a lot of Dynaflex pressings can be quite clean sounding and might be a nice alternative. For this one, there's distortion here and there. There's takes and pops, there's groove noise. The music is magnificent, but it is a little hard to get to it. The classic records open things up a little bit. It's a bit brighter than the original, and it has a little bit of brightness to the strings, which kind of take it down a notch. It doesn't have quite the lush string tone of the original. Climaxes are better resolved on the classic. It's an exciting listen. It's very dynamic and a bit cleaner. I still had problems with it though. I had, even after a thorough cleaning, a couple cleanings, I still had ticks, and it's kind of a downer to hear that when you're listening to the second section where it's this beautiful quiet part with plucked strings and the organ foundation. It's okay, but there's probably clean ones out there. They were RTI pressings, and I'm sure there's very good ones out there, but just mine is not. So I was very anxious to see how a new mastering, by the way, the classic records is done by Bernie Grundman. The new mastering is Ryan Smith, and it's taken from the original analog tape. It's an AAA cut. It's part of Analog Productions' Living Stereo series, which I've commented on a few of them already, and so far so good. I think they improve in some ways upon the classics and somewhat rival the originals in many ways, and can improve a record, especially something like this, where it's so difficult to reproduce the organ and get it on the record properly. The Analog Productions does a lot of things right. It does almost everything right. Unfortunately, my copy, again, had groove noise. And I'm not talking about ticks and pops. I'm talking about just a constant groove noise that should be silent or should be much lower. So unfortunately, it obscured some of the low-level detail when you're turning it up. And you want to hear this loud. It's an organ. You need to hear it loud. So it kind of is a balancing act. You really got to get those surfaces silent. And if I can overlook that, everything else is great on the Analog Productions. The more busy parts are, of course, you don't hear the groove noise, but there is those very silent parts that it sticks out like a sore thumb. So try, if you get one that is got groove noise like I have. I wish I had traded it in and got a second one, but it was a little too late. The window was closed. I'm sure there are good pressings out there. Quality Record Pressings does excellent work, and there's got to be some quiet ones. So it's worth a try. The organ is handled very well in the new one. It reproduces extremely well on my system with the subwoofer. I had to really adjust the subwoofer perfectly for this record. You know, I never have it perfectly adjusted. I always have to play with it. And that's not good, and I know that. But I didn't want it to be boomy, but I did want it to be audible and have impact. And I finally found the perfect setting. If you don't have a subwoofer in your system, you don't have to worry about that. But, you know, you need to have full range speakers to really reproduce this, and the room to do it in too. Two things that I don't have. So take what I'm saying, with a grain of salt, of course. It's a subjective opinion, and it's on my system with my ears. One other thing I can refer to is the other climaxes besides the organ, the brass climaxes. it seems to have a bit of distortion baked in, no matter where I listen to it, even on a streaming or CD or whatever. That's kind of in the recording. There's not much we can do to clean that up. But, this is, and the climax on the side 2 is just mind-blowing that they got that on, they got that on tape and on record. To me, the reading is without peer. I do have another reading that I do like, and the recording is fantastic, and that is the EMI recording of Louis Fermot in the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. In that one, which I have on the Clavier label, it's very, very clean and very good pressing. The reading is it's just a little bit of a different flavor, but Charles Munch has the lock on this piece of music, and he does a magnificent job, just magical in all the sections, and I don't think there is really any equal. So, this is something that has made me think that maybe I want to get back into CD sometimes, or SACD for classical, because I'm finding more and more that it's the noise of analog playback just bothers me on classical music. And I took out my CD player a long time ago, but I've thought about getting an SACD player. I actually have the SACD of this and the whole line of the RCA living stereos that came out from RCA. And I'm thinking that might be a nice option for me when I want to play classical music. But if you do want this on record, you want an all analog pressing, the new Analog Productions is very good. You just need to really find a clean copy, a silent copy. And that would be my recommendation on this one. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott for The Pressing Matters. Have a great day.